Welcome to your deep dive. Today, we're really going to dig into Shakti Gawain's Living in the Light. Not just like read it,
Right.
but really try to tease out how our inner world shapes our experiences.
Yeah, it's like she gives us this blueprint for personal transformation.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I love how she starts with so much optimism.
Hmm.
Like that our own growth, can actually spark change on a planetary level. That's kind of a radical idea when you think about it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like she's saying, if you want to change the world, you got to start with yourself.
And that's where this whole mirror analogy she uses comes in, right? Like
Mm.
what we see outside is really just reflecting back what's going on inside.
Oh, totally.
So if you're battling like inner turmoil all the time, chances are that's going to show up in your relationships, your work, everything.
That makes sense.
But when we find that inner peace, that harmony, it's like it radiates outward and influences everything around us.
Okay, so that all sounds great, but how do we actually find that inner guidance? How do we tap into our intuition, which Gawain talks about a lot? It's not always easy, especially in a world that's obsessed with data and logic.
Yeah, it's like we've forgotten how to listen to those subtler whispers. One thing she talks about that I found really helpful is this idea of an intuition journal.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, like every night, just take a few minutes to jot down any intuitive hits you had during the day,
Hmm,
even if they seem small or insignificant.
okay.
Because just by paying attention to those whispers, we start to recognize that voice more and more.
That's a really great takeaway for our listeners. Like, what's one small thing you can do today to connect with your intuition a bit more? Now, Gawain doesn't stop there. She gets into this whole idea of balancing our masculine and feminine energies.
Yes. And it's so important to remember she's not talking about gender stereotypes here.
Right.
It's about recognizing these energies exist within all of us.
Ah.
She calls them the new male and the new female.
Yeah.
So the new male is all about action, assertiveness, clear boundaries,
Okay.
and the new female is more about intuition, nurturing, receptivity.
Right. And she's saying that a lot of times, because of societal expectations, those energies get out of balance.
Absolutely.
And that can leave us feeling kind of like incomplete or unfulfilled.
Yeah.
So it's about finding that sweet spot, that internal equilibrium. But how does this actually show up in our lives? Like, can we see it, feel it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, think about your relationships.
Okay.
Do you always seem to end up with partners who are like overly dominant?
Right.
Or the opposite, maybe overly passive?
Yeah.
That could be a sign of an imbalance right there.
Interesting.
Or maybe you struggle with setting boundaries, whether it's at work or in your personal life,
Mm.
and you end up feeling drained, like people are taking advantage of you.
That resonates with a lot of people, I bet.
Yeah, that can also come from not having that harmony between your masculine and feminine energies.
Powerful stuff. And speaking of relationships, Gawain definitely doesn't shy away from talking about how important they are.
Totally. She actually calls them mirrors.
Oh, wow.
They reflect back to us how we truly relate to ourselves.
So true.
And that's why self-love is like the foundation of everything.
You can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Exactly. If we don't love and value ourselves, how can we possibly expect others to?
Yeah.
But when we nurture that self-love, it just spills over into every area of our lives, especially our relationships.
Mm.
It allows us to set healthy boundaries, and to attract people who are actually going to value and respect us.
It's about knowing your worth
Exactly.
and not settling for anything less. And I love how she brings this all back to work, too. Like,
Yeah.
challenging the idea that it has to be this soul-crushing grind.
Totally.
She talks about finding work that feels more like playing in a unique channel of our own energy.
Right. It's about aligning what you do with your true passions, your values.
Mm.
Because everyone has unique talents and skills,
Mm.
and those are meant to be shared with the world.
Absolutely. And that doesn't necessarily mean everyone needs to quit their day job and become an artist or an entrepreneur.
Yeah, yeah.
It's more about finding ways to bring more meaning and purpose into whatever it is you do.
Exactly.
She tells this great story, actually, about this woman who always dreamed of being a concert pianist.
Oh, wow.
But she had given up on it, thinking it was too late.
Oh, no.
But with a little encouragement, she dusted off her piano, started practicing again, and she rediscovered this amazing sense of joy and purpose.
It's never too late, is it?
It's never too late.
That woman's story really highlights something so powerful. It's never too late to reconnect with what you love. Even small steps can make a world of difference.
It's like you can bloom wherever you are, right?
Yeah.
But it's not always that easy to connect work and passion. especially when you factor in money. Which reminds me, Gawain has some really interesting things to say about
Oh,
finances.
yeah, definitely.
She doesn't see it as like this thing to chase after or just hoard. It's more like money is a reflection of the energy flowing through our lives.
Right.
Okay, say more about that.
Yeah.
What does she mean by energy flow when it comes to like our bank accounts?
It's like when we're truly aligned with our purpose, when we're living authentically, abundance just flows more easily. And that includes financial abundance.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about like wishing for riches or doing some mystical ritual. It's more about making choices, taking actions that are in alignment with what we value most.
Okay, so it's less about manifesting wads of cash and more about aligning with our deeper purpose.
Exactly.
But how do you bridge that gap between like your purpose and your bank account,
Hmm.
especially when those unexpected bills show up or you're dealing with financial insecurity?
She talks a lot about trust.
Mm.
Trusting the universe, trusting ourselves, trusting that we'll be provided for. And she shares her own experiences, with financial ups and downs. Even when things were tough, she says she always had this deep sense of trust that it would all work out.
And did it? Did the universe come through?
There's this one story she tells about buying this property in Hawaii,
Okay.
and it was totally based on intuition, just this gut feeling.
Wow.
And later on, she decides to sell it, even though she knew she was going to lose money.
Oh no, that's a tough spot to be in.
It was. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
The couple that ended up buying the property,
Yeah.
they had been visualizing their dream home in Hawaii. And guess what?
What?
It was that exact property. And they had started visualizing it after reading Gawain's book, Creative Visualization.
Whoa, you're kidding. So she like played a part in their manifestation without even realizing it.
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
we're all so interconnected. Our choices and our energy can have these ripple effects that we may never fully grasp.
That story really makes you think, huh? Okay, so we've talked about aligning our energy with finances, but what about like our physical well-being? Does Gawain talk about that too?
Oh, absolutely. She
Mm.
sees physical health as this direct reflection of our emotional and spiritual state.
Right.
That whole mind-body connection.
So you're saying those aches and pains, those sniffles, they might be more than just physical.
Exactly. Our bodies are constantly communicating with us. All those seemingly random symptoms we experience,
Yeah.
those could be signs that something's off on a deeper level.
Like we're holding on to stress or ignoring our intuition or just not taking care of ourselves. I know for me, when I'm run down, I'm way more likely to get sick.
Exactly. Our bodies are incredibly intelligent, and if we're not listening to those whispers, they're going to start shouting.
So, how do we become better listeners? How do we strengthen that connection and start to heal from within?
Well, she suggests a multi-pronged approach.
Okay.
It starts with self-care, obviously.
Mhm.
Nourishing our bodies with healthy food, getting enough sleep, moving our bodies in ways that feel good,
Hmm.
and making time for relaxation and rejuvenation.
So, bubble baths and green smoothies, but it goes deeper than that, right?
Yeah, it's also about boundaries.
Yeah.
Learning to say no to things that drain us
Yeah.
and yes to things that light us up. Honoring our needs,
Yeah.
and recognizing that we deserve to be treated with respect by ourselves and others.
It's about using that inner masculine energy, right, to set those boundaries and assert those needs.
Exactly.
Now, something I find really fascinating is this idea that personal transformation can actually like have this ripple effect, like it influences the collective consciousness. Does Gawain talk about that at all?
Definitely. She talks about this phenomenon called the 100th monkey effect.
Oh, right. Remind me about that.
It comes from these observations of a group of monkeys on this island.
Okay.
And the scientists noticed that when a certain percentage of monkeys learned a new behavior, like, say, washing their food,
Mm-hmm.
it would suddenly spread to the entire population.
Wow. Even the ones who hadn't been directly taught.
Yeah. It was like this tipping point had been reached.
So you're saying that our individual actions, even those small everyday choices, they can have a much bigger impact than we realize.
Absolutely. It's like we're all part of this vast web of consciousness, and our thoughts, feelings, and actions all contribute to the overall vibration.
It's kind of empowering, but also kind of like, whoa, no pressure or anything, but your choices are shaping the world.
It's a reminder that we have a responsibility to ourselves and to the world to become the best versions of ourselves, to live in alignment with our values, and to contribute to a more loving and conscious reality.
So how do we actually do that? How do we translate these big, heady concepts into tangible action? What can we do, like starting today, to create that ripple effect and contribute to a more conscious world? It does feel like a pivotal moment, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
we're being called to step up and really like take responsibility for the kind of world we're creating.
Totally. And Gawain, like, directly addresses that call to action.
Okay.
She offers this framework for personal and planetary healing.
Okay.
And it all starts with this really simple but powerful affirmation.
I'm intrigued. What is it?
It goes, "The power of the universe is healing and transforming me. As I am healed and transformed, the whole world is healed and transformed."
Oh,
Yeah.
that packs a punch. It's like acknowledging that we're not separate, you know? Our
Mhm.
inner work isn't just about us, it's contributing to something much bigger.
Exactly.
So, where do we go from there?
Well, she talks about paying attention to those issues, whether it's social, political, environmental,
Yeah.
the ones that really trigger us, that get us fired up, make us want to like rant on social media or just like completely tune out the
That's
news.
those issues.
Yeah, exactly. She says those reactions, even the uncomfortable ones, they're actually valuable opportunities.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because they can show us our own like unresolved stuff,
Okay.
our wounds, our limiting beliefs.
So it's about using those external issues as like invitations to look inward,
Exactly.
to get curious about why we're reacting the way we are.
Yeah. It's
Got
not
it.
about blaming ourselves or anything like that.
Right.
It's more like seeing those external issues as mirrors, reflecting back parts of ourselves that are ready to heal and integrate.
I like that reframe. So we've identified our triggers, we've done the inner work. What's next?
Action. She's very clear about this. We can't just meditate our way to a better world.
Right. Right.
We have to be active participants in creating that change.
What does that actually look like, though?
It's going to be different for everyone.
Yeah.
For some people, it might mean getting involved in social justice movements, advocating for policy changes, supporting organizations that align with their values. For others, it might be simpler, like being kinder to themselves and to others,
Okay.
practicing forgiveness more, speaking up against injustice in their own communities.
So it's about finding where our passions and our values intersect with what the world needs.
Exactly. And not waiting for the perfect moment or until we have it all figured out,
Right.
just taking those small, imperfect steps forward.
It's about trusting that even those small acts of love and courage, they can make a difference, right?
Absolutely. They have a ripple effect.
I love that. Gawain's message is ultimately so hopeful, so empowering.
It is. It reminds us that we're not just like helpless bystanders in all this.
Yeah.
We actually get to co-create the reality we want to see.
So what resonates most with you? What new perspective are you taking away from our deep dive into living in the light? What small step can you take today to step more fully into your own power and help create a brighter, more conscious world? Remember, transformation is a journey. It's not a destination. Be kind to yourself, trust the process, and never, ever underestimate the power of your own inner light to illuminate the path ahead. And until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep shining your light.